This is Alan with Tune Arm in Baltimore. A gooner and a toffee walk into a bar. Decided to do a shit football podcast. You're listening to the DU Football Show.
It's the original and it's the best for a reason, right? But I also thought it was fitting tonight. Needed to, he couldn't make it pre warm up injury, so we had to tap in Geck. So boys can say something like hi.
Let's start the show.
Too fucking late. Let's start the show.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston.
Sam Houston?
Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smell the Malort. Look straight in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.
Fucking United! Fucking United!
The shit that goes on as we're listening to the music. Hello and welcome to the DU Football Show, a completely biased recap of the English Premier League as told by three common American schmucks. I am your host, Sam Houston, and of course, Mr. Graham away on paternity leave. We are joined by two old friends of the show. First, we have Stat Boy. Some people know him as Geckle. His good friends know him as Geck. Lead supporter, David Geckle. How you doing, good sir?
I'm great, Sam. Thanks for making a call to the bullpen for the Geck.
Yes. It was the first thing that popped into my mind. It was like Alan had some scheduling issues, and it was like, I'm calling Geck. That's all there is to it. And then, of course, the smooth, docile tones of young hot freshness, Mr. Hiram. How you doing, brother?
I'm not feeling young no more.
As a spirit, we know you're an 80-year-old black man.
Oh,
we already
100%.
know this. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that in, legitimately, the 3 months I haven't seen you, you've somehow become older and grumpier.
My back hurts.
And, of course, on the ones and twos, producer Mel. How you doing over there, producer Mel?
Definitely feeling younger than Hiram. Although we didn't talk about it, but did you like the Christmas card from Abby?
Yes, I did. It was very on brand for sure.
Yeah. Geck got to meet the Abby.
Ooh.
I did.
Feeling younger than Hiram, but not younger than his mother. We're recording at the DU Public House just outside the nation's capital. You can check us out wherever you get podcasts, and of course streaming live tonight on a Thursday because the fucking holiday fixtures are all over the place. Should you want to chat with us, there is many ways that you can. Hiram, tell the good people how they can get in touch.
You can, of course, reach out to us on all socials at DU Football Show and also on our email at dufootballshow@gmail.com.
Very good. I love it. Anybody on the tiki-takis yet, Melissa, or anything at all?
Nope.
Very good. Well done. You are a professional, Mrs. Houston. No one could ever say otherwise. Sam and myself both work in the wine and spirit industry and both have a deep, passionate love for all things distilled spirits. Those the red-blooded Americans we are. All of us here vow to have a drink in our hand throughout this show and every single show. The list continues for Whisky Advocate's top 20 whiskeys of 2024. And as I am pouring a little bit here for Mr. Geckle, Mr. Geckle is going to do the honors, especially because this whiskey has a little bit of tie-in to beer, and Geck is a big old beer head. So, Mr. Geckle, please read the review for us.
Yes, not only beer, but somewhat local beer. It is Virginia Distillery Co. Brewers Coalition Hardywood Gingerbread Stout Cask, coming in at 50% or 100 proof, and will run you about $50 on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And we got a panel rating of 93. It's an American single malt, and the blurb from Whisky Advocate comes from Julia Higgins. Through its Brewers Coalition series, Virginia Distillery Co. puts the spotlight on beer barrels from popular breweries. In this case, to superb effect. Secondary maturation in gingerbread stout casks has imbued this with scents of sweet cereal grain, baking spices, ginger, cocoa, and pear. The palate is well spiced and mouthwatering with cinnamon, vanilla frosting, and berries. The finish turns darker while deliciously trailing off to dark chocolate and honey.
That is really fucking lovely.
And Hardywood Gingerbread Stout is fantastic, and this whiskey is also fantastic.
I was trying to find the beer. I could not find the beer. I mean, I know you can find it in the area, but I also have a feeling when I was looking for it, that beer had already come out and went away. You know, because normally you think about, like, everybody goes, oh, pumpkin beers, normally released in the lovely month of August.
Yeah, 100 degrees. Yeah.
So, I have a feeling the Hardywood Gingerbread Stout was released probably September, October. So finding it on the shelf was not easy.
I did see the liquor store by my house, Lighthouse Liquors, did have a mixed 8-pack of like 4 different Hardywood beers. So I imagine that was in it. Mm-hmm. But that was like maybe a month ago I saw it. So I don't know if it's still there or not. But it's available in this region. I don't know how far out they ship. So I don't know if Taylor can get his hand on the beer or not.
Yeah. This is a whiskey you can readily find. Now, I mean, it's not going to be around forever because it's their Brewers series. So they make a certain amount of bottles and they put it out there. But it's a brand that's done well in this market, but it's not like it's burning off the shelves, right? So this is one you can still find. The price point is exactly where it's supposed to be at. It's not marked up too much. It's a lovely little whiskey. The chocolate maltiness to it, right, that a barley whiskey already has or a single malt already has really shines through with the gingerbread. Now, boys, what are your thoughts on it?
I like it. It definitely is pretty smooth and definitely has like that dark, somewhat chocolate aftertaste that you mentioned. And I just have been sipping on it casually. I haven't had it over ice yet, but no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, feel free to have a little over ice if you like as well. Ice, you really start to get that kind of ginger snap to it. That's really lovely. Producer Mel, do you have a second? Do you want to talk about it? Because I know it has been said in some circles that you are gingerbread Mel.
I am definitely gingerbread Mel, and I have not gotten my fill of it yet this year. I absolutely love it. I think the ginger and the breadiness comes in very subtle, but it is still present, softens the whole thing. And I had it neat earlier. I do like it over ice.
Yeah, I feel like ice really kind of opened this whiskey up. Interesting though too, because
there's some ASMR.
So far, this list, like I said,
Hiram, talk while I do this.
We can have as much of this bottle as we want. Like I said, I can get more. This is not an impossible bottle to get, and it's not terribly expensive. So getting another bottle is not a problem.
I would love it even if I didn't know it was gingerbread.
What's interesting here, though, so far is Westland, American single malt, Starward, Australian single malt. Bushmills, the 10-year, that's a single malt. This, a single malt. Next week is finally a pot still. So predominantly barley with a little bit of corn in it. So like finally not 100% barley. This, I was talking about it last week and I'll mention it again. This list is very malt heavy. It is a lot of barley whiskey this year. We don't get to a bourbon until I think another 2 more glasses. Yeah, there's a handful of bourbons, but it is very much dominated by single malts this year, which is nice. Virginia Distilling, I have a few friends who work with them, people that I know. I love all of them. They're just south of Charlottesville, so I've been to the distillery and know them all well. And they also had a cider cask that was on one of the very first. It was either the very first top 20 list they did or the second top 20 list that they did, but it was one of those two. And they make great stuff. They were flat out when I was with Westward. That was my competitor. Yeah, like that was my competing brand, particularly because of in market. I work in the DC market, so I work in their backyard. So they were certainly my direct competition, but no ill feelings. And this is a lovely, lovely fucking whiskey. It really, really is. I like it quite a bit. It did not disappoint.
I think I would take this slightly over the Westward cask finish that they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. That one I would disagree on wholeheartedly. I think that cask strength is one of the best fucking whiskeys I've ever drank.
The stout cask?
Oh, not the stout cask. No, I would take this over the stout cask. I was talking about the cask strength.
I was saying the stout one is similar to this. I get similar notes. But this one has a little extra. That
it's
gingerbread.
The chocolatey malt.
Which yours and which one's mine?
This one's mine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And David, what else should we always do?
Always remember to drink responsibly.
See, that's someone who listens to the show. I know that. I could throw it to them and they get it. I don't have it on the notes, So I'm going to do that every single time, and I'm just going to see if they go to remember to drink responsibly. It's just going to be my own little tiny test.
Just add a water in there. It's good for you.
Okay. All right, everybody, cheers.
Slancha.
Now here's your ASMR.
There we go. All kinds of ASMR. That is what is popping right now with the young hot freshness. The fixture week showed that there is a clear-cut contender and a clear-cut pretender. Sorry, Hiram. Liverpool 5, West Ham 0, Ipswich 2, Chelsea 0. This is starting to sound like a broken record, but it's just the truth. 5 goals, 5 different goal scorers, Mo involved in most of them, and the Reds just keep fucking rolling.
Well, every time they win the league, Leeds win Division 2, so I'm here for it.
You're like, yeah, if they win, that means we win and we get promoted. Yay. Here's the funny thing about that match is West Ham wasn't terrible. Like they had a really good chance to open the match. They put one off the post. Allison had to make a couple of saves. It was just fucking Liverpool is a fucking locomotive right now. They can't be stopped. I mean, they even in the 2 draws that they had at the end of November and the start of December, even there, like one of them, they played with 10 men and they
came back
and figured it out twice and figured out a way to get a draw. Like they are just on an absolute roll right now.
I think it's mainly because they're the only cohesive unit in maybe not even just the Prem, but maybe all of Europe together.
Exactly.
Because like you see, like of course with the downing schedule that everyone has, especially playing in Champions League, cup competitions. I think they're still in Carabao, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
they got Tottenham in for 2 legs. I think their first leg is next week. I think it is middle of next week.
But even with like downing schedule, but still able to have this production value, they literally are like proven to be like one of the best teams, I think.
Good rotation of squad. I mean,
they're healthy. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too, it's this team isn't any different right now. We've talked about this on shows before, but I certainly want to get your guys' perspective. Geck, it's like, is Arne Slot that just insanely good of a manager, or was this team already bred and built? But if this team was already bred and built, why didn't Klopp do it last year? Why did they falter last year? It's like, throw that to you.
I think I think they're slightly better than last year. Our Slot like has some of that Klopp DNA, but they're more controlled, as Graham says on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
I was looking at their stats from last year. Like their XG per match was like 0.8 last year, and this year it's up to like 1.3, which is a pretty big jump. But they had some injuries last year. Arsenal and City were better. So I think it's, Slot looked and said, I've got a great squad already. I don't need to upset the apple cart.
Right. Leave it the way it is. I think what he probably does differently than, say, Klopp did. Now, Klopp, of course, like you just mentioned, there was injuries, right? So it's harder to really say, well, it would have been easier for Klopp to do the same thing Slot's doing, which is what I wanted to get to, is Slot has no problem just pulling a guy off, right? Because he's got the backups. He's got, as far as midfield goes, he's got 6 options.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody's playing like dog shit. They're out at halftime. And it kind of sets this purpose to the entire team, right? Throw this to you, Hiram, where it just seems like everyone knows their job, and they know if they're not doing their job, they're not staying on the fucking pitch.
Well, it's exactly that, just because like everyone has a point to prove. I think, and I've said this like off the record multiple times, I thought Mo Salah was actually falling off, especially because he had maybe 2 of his down years compared to like his usual form. But like now, like he's revitalized himself. Gakpo, he's definitely gone to like the same form he was in Euros as well too. I've been a fan of Diaz as well too, because like I just like how his creativity has been exposed on like that left side, but not exposed, but like his creativity has been more prominent to Liverpool, especially because they don't have that creative attacking force.
Well, Diaz health, right? Because he wasn't healthy a lot of last year. That hurts. Gakpo, this would probably be the perfect comparison. Gakpo couldn't step up under Klopp when Nunez was faltering. Gakpo has now made himself a permanent part of the fixture, and Nunez has to play himself into the lineup now under Slot.
Yeah, agreed. I think also Salah, you can just count on him. He's going to score or assist every match. And everybody else
three of the five, he was the goal scorer or the assister. He had 1 goal, 2 assists. And the other 2, he was the hockey second assister. He was the pass before the pass. So it's like all 5 goals he was involved in, and he's doing it how he normally does. He scores a couple cherry pickers. He scores a couple of great outside shots. He's a good set piece guy. Like everything's going really well for him. And it's funny too, because the heat's kind of gotten off of him a little, and I think it's going to come back in January because he has not signed a contract. They have not offered him a contract, and his contract run is now going to run out. So he can now start shopping himself to other places. My biggest question is like, for you guys is why did Liverpool not even offer anything? Why did they just assume, oh, well, Saudi's going to come with the money, we'll send them to Saudi? Like, what do you guys think?
Well, it's mainly because of course, the Saudi money as well, too. And then kind of harping back to like what I was saying before, like the past 2 seasons, he hasn't been playing up to par as his usual form.
Yeah, but his not up to par is like 18 goals, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which if you look at, like, I would say 15 of the teams in the Prem would kill for their lead guy to be scoring 18 goals, right?
But at the same time, like he's scoring 18 goals, but is he giving them in the same top positions that they were before, where they were battling for like the top spot in the Premier League? Were they in the Champions League final multiple years, in like multiple times in like a 5-year span or something like that? But still, they haven't been proven to themselves to be that top team, especially because Salah is like that main guy for them. And this season, he's trying to prove that he's still that guy, not only for Liverpool, but also those other clubs he's shopping for him.
A different question for you, Geck. Do you think this becomes a distraction? Because now he is essentially a free agent. And for those of you who don't know, in football, you're allowed to start shopping yourself. If your contract ends at the end of this season, now that the January window is opened, you are allowed to have open negotiations to go to another team. So he could just be like, oh, yeah, in the summer, I'm signing for Paris Saint-Germain.
Well, probably Saudi Arabia somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's made it very clear he wants to play very competitive football. Like, it's his nice way of going, I'm not ready for Saudi yet. I want to keep playing Champions League, which means it's a short list. It's Bayern, it's PSG, it's Juventus or Inter or AC Milan. Like that's the teams it's going to be, or obviously Barca or Real.
Yeah.
And because it ain't going to be anybody. Well, it could be somebody in the Premier League, but I kind of doubt it.
I think so. Salah's a consummate professional, and I think with the chance to win a title, it might be in the back of his mind Monday to Friday, but come Saturday, he's going to, put his boots on and score every match.
I certainly don't think that of him, because here's the thing, too. I mean, as an Everton supporter, I want to hate everything about every Liverpool player out there. It is impossible to hate him. It was very easy to hate Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
He bit people and kicked people and said racist shit.
Yeah.
He was garbage. Yeah. It was easy to hate him. Mo is, like you said, a consummate professional, seems like a really fucking nice human being, and he also happens to be really fucking good at football as well, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then he looks like kind of like this schlubby guy, and then you see him lift the shirt and it's the V with all the fucking I don't think that he is the distraction. I don't think he's going to be out there running his mouth, but the press is going to be asking all the fucking time. That's going to be a constant question. It's going to be a question for other players. It's going to be the question for the coach.
Yeah.
The fans are going to start asking fucking questions. The fans are going to start chanting his name more because they want him to stay. Like, you got to figure that's going to play. If there's any stumbling block for Liverpool, this feels like this is going to be the stumbling block.
Yeah, the footballing, definitely. It's hard to see them losing. Like, they'll drop points, but it's hard to see them dropping so many, or Arsenal and Chelsea picking up enough to overtake them.
Precisely.
But
now,
Trent in the same way is also out of contract. And he wants to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So if there's too many, I think if they lose 2 in a row, all of a sudden that'll be a whole week of
fair.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like what I was going to throw to both of you guys as well too, as far as like not just like the 2, but the 3 main stars of Liverpool who are basically out of contract by the end of the season if they don't get offered something. But who do you think is the biggest threat for Liverpool to lose? Would it be Van Dijk? Would it be Trent or Salah?
I mean, if out of contract, Trent's gone, right? Because also they have a ready built backup already, and let's face it, he can be found out defensively, and he can be when he gets found out, it does not go well for Liverpool. You can always find an offensive weapon. For me, and this one is easier to say because I hate the fucking guy. Van Dijk would be the biggest loss. That would be, but I think his contract is next year, so he still has 1 more year left. So it's now do you give him an extension, which I'd rather they don't, because I want to see him be gone because he's a whiny little bitch that still kicks everybody and expects that the rules are different for him. But oh, sorry. Moment of silence for the Dutch tulip, everybody. Beautiful. If I'm Liverpool, I am extending him. How many zeros do you want? You're the captain. You're our guy. We like, you can lose a step. It doesn't fucking matter, especially with a central defender, because you can always get someone young and skilled to play next to them. What you can't teach is hard nose, shut it the fuck down, and that only comes with experience. And you'll look at most really good center back pairings, it's almost always one kind of young, aggressive, attacking defender and one very old school, smart veteran that knows exactly what they're doing. They have complete control of the pitch, and that's again, I hate the fucking guy, but that's what Van Dijk is. It's simply put, that's exactly what the fuck he is.
Yeah,
he's the leader. Yeah.
Question that I posed last week, I might as well pose to both of you guys as well. First to you, Hiram, is do you think there's a slip in Liverpool, or do you think this is their title?
I want to say it's their title just because of how consistent they've been playing so far.
Right.
But then again, like,
there's 19 games left.
There's 19 games left. Also, you have cup competitions. You have European competition as well too. And then who knows? Maybe if someone goes off at international, that God forbid, of course, they get an injury from that as well too.
Also, most of their big matchups are on the road. They pretty much faced everybody in their building. So going to the other building is going to be tougher. Where Arsenal, almost all of theirs are back in their building, not at the opponent's buildings. Dave, for you, what do you think? Do you think they hold on? Do you think they're that this is kind of done and dusted, or you think there's a chance for someone?
I don't think it's over, but I think the only other competition they have is Arsenal. I think if Liverpool stays healthy, it's their title to lose. But Arsenal, if they get healthy, they could go on a run. If Liverpool get an injury here or there, or there's, too much of the contract talks, maybe they slip.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
all the pun intended. All the pun intended.
But, I think it has to be Liverpool's in the driver's seat for sure.
I would say Gerrard looked pretty fucking alone when he slipped in that match, didn't he?
It was a good slip.
Yeah. And then I have a story about that match. I went to Slancha. I watched it with a Liverpool friend, and it was like right before injury time. So I was like, it was pretty crowded. I was like, all right, I'll get to the bathroom before this, the half ends and beat the rush. And then I was in the middle of a fucking Chelsea pile on. I was like, God damn it. Did he not fucking like Chelsea?
Fucking brilliant. Speaking of slipping and fucking off, Chelsea definitely walked into what we like to call the old trap game. The form that Chelsea's been in as of late has been less than stellar. It's not that they're playing any particularly different. It's just, it seems like, because really what it comes down to is the draw to Everton, where they looked essentially lifeless, and Everton just said, okay, we're going to play our game. And Chelsea went, sure, we'll play your game and draw. And then Fulham, where they seem to have it, but they can't figure out a way to get ahead, and then they get smashed and grabbed in a derby, which frankly, it just seemed like their team didn't understand what a West London derby was. Fulham was very aware of what a West London derby was. And this one, you go into a team in the relegation zone, newly promoted, still haven't gotten a win at home, and you're off of 2 bad performances, and frankly, a 3rd bad performance. Like, Hiram, I know you as a Chelsea supporter, and I just really piled on here. You're figuring it's got to be like, okay, here we go. We're getting one of the teams in the relegation zone. We're going to get a W. I know it's in their building. And then next thing you know, fucking 1-0 Ipswich.
Yeah. Let me just say this, just to clarify. And not even from a biased standpoint, I generally don't think that was a PK.
I was going to ask that as well.
Mainly because, yes, Jorgensen did kind of like go for the ball, and the ball was kind of out of the way of the lap's forward progression. And then that light tap that his foot had on the shin, what made him dive and cause that penalty, was kind of bogus, in my opinion.
I tend to agree. I think if that wasn't called, VAR would not have overturned it and made it a penalty. I think because it was called, VAR didn't see it as clear and obvious and didn't overturn. I think if it gets called the other way, it wouldn't have been a penalty, right? If he would have gone, play on, VAR wouldn't have gone, no, you should take a look at that. The one thing I think that ultimately hurts your keeper there is if you get a touch, if you get something on the ball, right? If you get just a fingertip on the ball, they'll tend to let you get away with going through with your body. And even though it wasn't a lot of his body, Delap sold the shit out of it.
Well, I mean, he sold it like he got shot in the back.
He sold the shit out of it. Oh, I tend to agree that it was insanely soft and probably shouldn't have been a penalty. But the way that VAR has now been designed and the way that they're treating it, gets called the other way, it's not a penalty. It gets called this way, it is a penalty, is what it ultimately felt like. What do you think, Geck? Do you think that was a pen?
I kind of agree with what you're saying. If they call it on the pitch, it's not clear and obvious, but it was not a lot of contact.
Right. Yeah, it was soft as hell, but that still puts you in the same situation, Hiram. You're down. You're down 1-0, and at the time you're in the driver's seat to be in second place, right? Yeah, all you got to do is win that match. You're right back in second. You're 6 points out of first. You're doing what you need to be doing, right? Yeah. As a supporter, is there a level of frustration right now that it seems like the kids aren't necessarily getting it? Because that's the other thing we have to remember. This is a very young team that should not be in the position they're in right now. We all figured this was going to be a 5th, 6th place team. And this team at one point was 3 points away from being in first. So, I mean, there's that level. But, I mean, for you, it got to be frustrating to just go down again.
Well, for sure, because even though, like, all jokes aside, we're really not a title race, and I'm not even saying that as like the bid or anything like that.
Maresca has so much. His flat out come out in the press and gone, we're not title contenders. We're still trying to figure this out.
And mainly, and reason why I bring that up is because, yes, we may be positioned in second, and we may be doing pretty well for like the running games prior to the Everton match as well too.
4th now.
Prior to the Everton match, of course. But even still, like, that run of games with, like, Everton, Fulham, and then now Ipswich definitely hurt us. And I think kind of gave us, like, a shot in the arm to kind of think, like, okay, we really got to step up and keep going from our previous run of games, because I think it was, 5 games straight. It was a win, or at least positive points on there from, like, 10 games or something like that. But if we maintain that same aggression, for sure, I definitely think it would help. But, and it's not even to like play like the blame game or anything like that too, but like a lot of, and I've seen this a lot from like some Chelsea fans, mainly on social media as well, but like a lot of people were clamoring for an Nkunku or a Felix start, at least in the Premier League match. And I think someone brought it up that this is actually proof that maybe they're not fit for this if we can't even get over a relegation team as well too, because like you have, of course, your players like Jackson and Nkunku kind of battling for like that top striker spot, even though Nkunku is like a very versatile winger / attacking midfielder. Felix is pretty much can be versatile at any place at all, and he was creating chances, but he wasn't it wasn't as helpful. Minus that offside goal, of course. Hopefully, I was really hoping that was a goal, but
he was definitely off.
He was clearly off for sure, though. But I don't know. I think it definitely give us like a boost. Is he like, okay, no, we really got to like fix our shit and kind of get back to where we were before. Not to say like we need to be in a title race, but we also need to at least strive to be better every day and get those same 3 points every match whenever we go out, whether it may be a City or Ipswich or even a fucking Southampton.
All right. Well, you know what's up.
Yeah, I know.
And we're going to talk about the Tractor Boys in a second. I want to switch gears to them, but for you there, my good friend, I poured you a lovely glass of barrel-aged Malort.
It's not lovely.
Winning at Portman Road. Not everyone can do it.
God damn it.
I mean, we did. Yeah, because that would be the Tractor Boys' first win at home in the Premier League since, I want to say it was like 2003, since before Hutchinson and Delap. It was the year Hutchinson and Delap were born.
Wow.
Was the year that they last won a Premier League match at Portman Road. How we doing over there, Hiram?
Move on.
Hutchinson scores the second goal and very much celebrates to the crowd. Now, he is a former Chelsea man, right? There's been a lot of talk lately about, celebrating when it's against the team that you previously played for. I think the caveat that gets lost, and I'll let you guys expand upon it as well. If it's in your building, fucking celebrate. If it's in the other team's building, don't celebrate, right? It also depends on how long were you there. Was it a bad breakup or a good breakup, right? Like the one that is always the example of what not to do is Wayne Rooney leaving Everton, getting signed to Manchester United. The very first time he's back at Goodison Park, he scores a goal, stands in front of the Gladys Street end, and kisses the Manchester United badge right in front of all of them. Of which, credit to Sir Alex, immediately subbed him off the pitch. It was like, no, son, you don't do that.
Wasn't it Adebayor? Because he went from Arsenal to Spurs and did the same thing, but I can't remember what side or.
Yeah, again, but it was a shitty breakup too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was harsh feelings. Like if there's harsh, like if Anthony Gordon had scored that penalty against Everton, that Pickford and his little short arms that everybody at Newcastle likes to remind had saved easily. If he had scored that goal, he would have been in front of the Gladys Street end, and while I wouldn't have liked it, it would have made sense. Fans fucking chased his car down the street the last game he played at Goodison Park. Like, if that fucker wants to celebrate in front of you, yeah, by all means, go ahead.
Well, I think, did Hutchinson even have a senior appearance for Chelsea?
No.
One.
Okay, one.
He got one.
So you can't really blame him for celebrating.
Also, he's played against Chelsea on like the U21s and U23 team for Arsenal, and he celebrated the same way against us too.
Oh, he did the flip. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see much in it, I mean, if it's someone who really had a long-standing history with the club, and no offense, but what everybody knows Chelsea for is buying a shit ton of fucking players and loaning them all out. Like, they love to do that. So how much of a Chelsea player does someone like Hutchinson ever really feel like at any point?
Well, I don't think that, to me at least, it wasn't that much of a bother. Yes, it was irritating mainly because he scored against us, of course. No matter if he was a Chelsea player or not, the fact that he scored again kind of definitely irritated me. But when he celebrated, I'm like, you know what? You have every right to. Go for it.
Yeah.
But, of course, if you're like a fucking Kai Havertz who, of course, wants to celebrate but then do some bullshit, then you know what? You can go fuck off. Or Mason Mount, but
yeah.
I mean, you only score so many goals, and if you're not winding up the opposing fans, I think do what you want, kind of thing. Mostly, yeah.
Perfectly stated for a dirty fucking Leeds fan. There's a couple of clubs knocking on the door of Champions League, and both had professional 2-0 victories. Forest 2, Everton 0, Newcastle 2, Manchester United 0. As an Everton supporter, not one bit surprised by this result. December went way too fucking well. We got through the murderer's row. We kicked the shit out of Wolves. We got Wolves at exactly the right time. got that big win, then got the postponement of the derby, even though I think very honestly, because at that time, that's when Liverpool was on that draw streak. At Goodison, I think Everton would have drew them. I really do.
I believe it.
But then 0-0 at Arsenal, a 0-0 to Chelsea, and a 1-1 at City. Like, of course we were going to lose this game. Forest has been playing very, very well. They're playing out of their minds, and in fact, at the end of the day, after beating us, they were in second place until Arsenal won 3 days later. I would have liked to see more offense out of our team, and that's becoming a problem because it seems like without McNeil, we don't have any kind of offensive structure, and that's not what we should be hanging our hat on. Is Dwight McNeil being an offensive genius? The only left-footed guy, he's like my boy Rob. He is all left foot. There is no right foot. You could just cut off his right leg and let him play with just his left foot. Like, that's all he is. And so I'm not surprised with how it came, with the overall result of the game. Oh, hey, I'd have chewed my own fucking arm off to have known that I would have gotten 6 points in December. If you asked me that at the start of the fucking month, I would have been like, yes, I'll go hit someone for that. Like, please tell me what I got to do. Like and Everton did it, and I'm fucking pleased as hell. But Nuno's boys, God damn, sorry, Russ, he has got them purring right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's well, as a Leeds fan, all I'm thinking is this could have been fucking us if we didn't fuck it off 3 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, this could have been you.
But they're a resolute slide. They're impossible to break down. Chris Wood is I know I've heard Graham slag him, but he consistently gets you 10 to 15 goals a year.
Well,
there's not a lot of people you can
slag his goal scoring ability. He slags the fact that his eyes are closed together and he's got a really big head.
Well, he's a Kiwi. What do you know? He's from the other side of the universe.
Right. He's an upside down world. We don't understand. He's just from a different planet, right?
Also, you got to give Morgan Gibbs White his credit too, because I think he's probably have his best season so far up to this point.
Well, yeah, and particularly with him, I mean, he was stellar at Hull City in the championship. Before he came to Forest, it seems like he's really growing into the role of being the playmaker of this team. And the first goal was really it was very beautiful. It was just a simple counterattack. And this is, by the way, this is what Forest does. They will play resolute defense, and you give them an opportunity, and they will fucking score. They only had a handful of chances in the game. They put 2 of them in the back of the net. Both of them were off of counterattacks, off of mistakes that Everton made. Like, that's what they do. And that first goal, Wood with a nice little pass to Alenga, who gave a nice little chip up in the air. Well, it was a header to Alenga, and Alenga gave a little chip back up in the air and a nice little half volley. Just a perfect ball. Nothing Pickford could do with it. It was just perfectly executed. And this is what Forest does, and this is why Forest is still in the discussion of the top 4, because it's just this. They play very, very smart football under Nuno. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, they don't beat themselves, and they're not offensively. I don't think they have enough to stay in Champions League, but defensively, I think they can keep anybody to a goal or less.
Right.
Would you say that they're having about the same season compared to Villa last season, as far as like production value from last year?
Yes and no. I think we weren't surprised as much to see Villa where they were. We knew the pieces were there. We knew Emery was a good manager. I'll be honest, I thought it was going to implode. I mean, my predictions, I had them going down. I had them being the final team going down.
Yeah.
I had them being in a relegation battle, and I did not think it was going to work. I mean, I'm total egg on my face, I admit it, but I was very concerned for them. I figured out we'll be fine. I mean, we're not going to be great, but we'll be fucking 13th place. They're in trouble. Them and Wolves were teams that I was worried about, and they have completely proven me wrong. Which leads me to the next question for you guys, as being non-partial, where I am. Everton not dropping points, but Everton not getting points. Do we feel like this is exactly where Dyche wants the team to be, and they're probably comfortably safe? But they are now only 3 points out of the relegation zone. Now, if they drop points and Ipswich gets points, they're still up on goal differential, but they're not that far away.
I mean, I was putting it like this because I was looking at something else. I think it was earlier this week or something like that. But without their deduction from earlier in the season, they would be above Man United right now.
You're talking about from last year because they didn't get a point deduction this year.
Oh,
yeah, last year.
I must be incorrect there.
Don't worry, they'll probably figure it out some way. It's easy. You know what? It's easy enough to go ahead and bring it up now. The Echo commonly just fucking trolls Everton all the time, but the Echo recently put out an article saying that 4 teams are going to get brought up on FSP or no PSR.
Yeah.
And the 4 names that they mentioned were Chelsea,
Of course.
Forest, because Forest was up there last year, Leicester, because they skirted it and got away with it, and of course Everton. And I'm like, hold on, everything Everton bought this year came from sale of players. Like, they did not overspend any money at all. In fact, anything, they netted a little bit of money. So I have our boy Ryan Williams looking into that to give me a little bit more, because it could very well just be the Echo just loves to fucking troll Everton. It's the city's newspaper, and they love to fucking troll Everton on a regular basis. Gotcha. Geck, what do you think?
I mostly think that 3 teams that came up aren't good enough to get out of it. But I think Everton is generally safe. It is concerning. I just looked this up. They are last in XG.
Yeah. Oh God.
So the attack is definitely needs to improve. But they have pieces. They've been in the Prem forever.
Yeah.
So you'd think they could at least be like below average instead of horrendous on the attack. But the defense is good enough to keep them up.
That is what I tend to agree upon. That's the other thing too. It's like, okay, well they're not scoring any goals. They ain't giving up any fucking goals either for the most part. You know, there's been a few blips, like the Brighton, Spurs, and United are the ones that come to mind. But outside of that, every match it's nothing or 1. You know?
Yeah.
And even in the case where you're like, well, you give up 1, you're going to lose. Well, no, they gave up 1 and they drew City. You know, they came back, on City. So for me, again, before I do my shot, the only shot of Malort I've had to do in December, by the way, you fuckers, is we shut out Chelsea and fucking Arsenal, and we saved a fucking stay humble fucking penalty. So I'm fucking fine with it. I'd gladly take this shot.
You guys will definitely stay up for sure.
What would you do for a point at the Emirates?
God damn, that sucks. Let's go ahead and get into the next game, but we've got a little bit of a honorary drink for this one, Geckle, as we talk about Newcastle. Why don't you tell us what we got here?
So normally we drink beers on Injury Time, which you can find at patreon.com/DUFootballShow. But in honor of Newcastle's win over Manchester United, I got an English-style brown ale called Drink It Down from Sapwood Cellars in Columbia, Maryland. And the blurb reads, "This isn't an India brown ale or a sour brown or an imperial brown. It's just a classic brown brewed with English Maris Otter, chocolate, and caramel malts. Hopped with crystal and fermented with our house English ale. The result has notes of coffee, ice cream, toasted bread, and orange marmalade. And it's vegan." But so it reminds us of, the classic Newcastle brown ale, like the kits from the 90s that I know Alan has one of. But this goes out to you.
Shore Billy has one
and
too.
Shore Billy.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh my God, yeah. Just nice malty roasted happiness.
I love a good brown ale. That might be my favorite category of beer.
Yeah, it's really fucking good. That's
That's
perfect.
what it says on the can. Fucking nails it. Yeah.
Does what it says in the can.
And
I used that line out in the real world, like not related to the show, and they just kind of looked at me, and they understood it though. Like they understood the reference, and I didn't have to explain it. And I was like, yeah, that's universal.
And we did that because there's not a lot to say about this match because it was one-way traffic. Newcastle completely fucking dominated Manchester United. Isaac is on fucking fire right now. I think in his last 8, he's putting at least 1 in the fucking back of the net.
Something like that.
Yeah, just insane. And in 20 minutes, this fucking match was done and dusted. Like, Geck, as a lead supporter, I know you take great joy in this one right now, because for people who do not know, way back in the day when Leeds used to be actually good, their biggest rival was actually Manchester United, and it's the Battle of the Roses, because it's the White Rose versus the Red Rose.
It goes back to the 1200s or whenever the War of the Roses was. The Red Rose of Lancashire versus the White Rose of Yorkshire.
Yeah,
and we still hate each other to this day.
yeah. And you're enjoying the entire shit show that has been Manchester United this year, I'm sure.
It doesn't get any better. Well, it doesn't get any better for Man U, and it doesn't get any better for me, because I don't know what they're doing.
Well, I mean, we could also very kindly say Manchester United now squarely in the relegation battle.
I wish I could agree, but they're.
I mean, we know they won't be, but as far as points go, this is where they are. This is their worst place they have ever been in the history of being in the Prem. Like, this is, after 19 matches at the halfway point, this is their absolute worst place in the table ever.
And you look at him and you go, well, what's going to change? Their captain keeps getting sent off. Casemiro is ancient in the middle of the park. He's not a good midfielder anymore. He has no legs.
Well, and Hiram, it just doesn't seem like anybody on the pitch fucking cares.
Hell no. I mean, it's even more embarrassing because, like, you have people even saying, like, they'd rather have who was that caretaker before they had Amarin come in?
Ole
Ten Hag.
Gunnar
Yeah.
Solskjaer.
No, not
Ten
Ten
Hag.
Hag. Not Ten Hag. Who after him?
It was Ole. Oh, you're talking when Ruud van Nistelrooy
Yeah,
managed
yeah.
a couple of matches this year.
That was the only
Who's now
time.
at Leicester.
Right. That was the only time that actually looked promising, I would say. And then ever since Amarin came in, and I don't think it's even because of his takeover. I just think, like, they generally feel like they're just there for a paycheck and they're just like going to go fuck off and do whatever.
Feels like to me Amarin's probably in over his head. I mean, he's a young, promising manager that came out of Portugal. This is a story as old as time when it comes to when we talk about managers in the Premier League. A young, promising manager from Portugal normally starts every fucking sentence, right? And I'm not saying that he's not a talented manager, and I'm not saying that he can't turn this around, but it is going to take time. And unfortunately, a club like Manchester United and the supporters like Manchester United, time and patience is not a thing that they fucking comprehend.
Well, it's also because I don't think he has the right pieces that he needs to make his formation work, especially. Now, I'm not even talking about like everyone, like literally take everyone from Sporting and bring him over to Man U, but like there's certain techniques that I think can definitely help build out the type of squad that he needs, but I don't think they're not there yet.
Right, but you also can't just completely cut a team and sign another team. Even for them, who literally have Scrooge McDuck fucking gold coins to dive in kind of money, even they can't just do that. It will take years for them to slowly drop players and bring players in.
Well, they bring in these managers who have a system, and and then they fire them, and then so every manager that comes in has to restart, and either they're not good enough to begin with, or they get players in and it doesn't work, and then they're gone. So it's either they got to stick with a system or stick with a manager.
But it's also because, like, I think mainly you also have to think about like the lineage of like the managers. Well, not even managers, manager that started at United.
It's Sir Alex.
Right.
It's all Sir Alex.
They're obviously going to have that pressure from that as well too. That you saw that with Ten Hag, you saw that with Jose, you saw that with Ole as well, briefly.
I mean, Sir Alex isn't walking through that door. You just gotta build. You have to. They needed some sort of coherent plan and stick with it.
Yeah.
It seems like they're
he walks through that door every match day and sits in the stands.
Well, he
and
used
judges
to, until they fired him.
Yeah, well, no. Now he walks through as a supporter and sits in the stands and judges them silently.
Yeah.
Wishing he had Cristiano back.
But even there, that was a shit show. It's just this constant rotating door of an absolute fucking shit show, and trying to find a reasonable, rational United supporter is fucking impossible, right? It has to. It's the glory days. This is who we are. They can't understand that the whole thing is rotten to the fucking core.
Yeah.
It has to be changed, right? because now every little fucking thing that happens is now being scrutinized. Like Radcliffe, not paying in for like cutting a pension fund that was helping old players, like retired players, for healthcare and shit like that. Like, oh, you have money for, for the next dumbass that we're going to fucking sign for $100 million that we're going to make no money off of. But, that 40 grand for, an ex-footballer that, doesn't make the money these guys make. That's the problem.
Or a
That's
holiday party for the stewards. Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, here's a pizza party. Like they're going to cut that.
Well, we talked about Ilanga in the Forest match. Like, he's been great for them.
Yeah,
Andres
phenomenal.
Pereira was a Man U player. He's been great for Fulham. Like, they have players, but they don't give them a chance, and they just sell them at the first chance they get.
Yeah.
Would they have? I mean, would the same thing be happening to them? I don't know. But there's obviously talent there.
And turning gears towards Newcastle, it's taken them a while to get the engine going, but it seems like the engine is going. Is it as simple as just Isak being back? That is why they're being successful right now?
Well, I think last year they got decimated by injuries.
Oh, yeah.
So they've had pretty much the same starting 11 for most of this year. But yeah, now that Isak's firing, they're obviously, you get that striker you can count on for a goal every match. Like, and we feel like you're already 1-0 up. Like, that's just, I think that really helps, obviously.
Is the shot clock already on the new Manchester United manager? I try not to say his name because it's just not worth remembering.
I don't think so.
No?
If it gets too close to the relegation zone, maybe. Yeah.
No? Well, hey, you know what they say? When a team goes through 3 managers, it's definitely a demotion. What I do love about Graham being away is that this segment actually gets done quickly. Rounding out the rest of the league, and so that happened. Palace 2, Southampton 1, Fulham 2, Bournemouth 2, Spurs 2, Wolves 2, Man City 2, Leicester 0, Villa 2, Brighton 2, Arsenal 3, Brentford 1. So the Saints aren't a complete mess. Like, they're actually playing some, structured football, but it really fucking means nothing because they're just not a team that's ready for the Premier League. No,
they're not. They were the clear third best team that came up, and they're the clear 20th team in the Prem.
Yeah, it's just what they are, right? And it's no offense to them. They're just a very young team, and I expect them to go down and figure it out and possibly even come back up. But they ain't staying up. That's for damn sure.
They'll probably beat Derby, I think.
Palace seemingly getting it right at the right time. They're finally kind of healthy. Decore kind of back in the lineup a little. Gay missed this one, but has been relatively healthy, and Eza scores a fucking beaut of a fucking goal.
If Eze's on form, Palace they'll be a tough out.
Right. That's what I feel like too. I mean, we saw them in Annapolis, and it was like kind of surprising to see them where they are in the table. Wouldn't you think, Hiram?
Actually, no.
No, you.
I think mainly because this is for me kind of the same old Palace, especially in this far of the table or in the season as well too. Fair. So, they will pretty much just stay relatively mid to bottom half of the table as well as they normally would, but I don't know.
I just expected more from them after how well they did last season. I kind of thought losing Elise is a big loss, but they made good signings to cover themselves. I just I would have thought a little more of them. I didn't expect them to be seeing how they've played this season. I figured them to be somewhere around 10th, not at most the season in the relegation zone, which is where they have been.
I think maybe breaking up Anderson and Gay might have been bigger than we thought.
Yeah, it's true.
I think Chris Richards is a good center back, but that they don't have. I mean, I don't think him and Gay were one and the same yet.
Yeah, and it does seem like LaCroix's starting to finally bet himself in as well, which helps. Might have been the most entertaining match of the actual weekend was Fulham and Bournemouth. Now, I would say the one thing you have to look at for Fulham in this match, an exciting 2-2 draw, was You got the lead twice in your building. You gave up the lead twice in your building. So that would be probably the biggest takeaway for Fulham is like, got to fucking win that one, right?
Well, you came back against Chelsea, so you're still up.
Yeah, it's true. That's a dig.
Go on with your little show.
Yeah. Bournemouth, this was a good result for them, particularly because what Bournemouth loves to do is play really, really well against really good teams and then kind of piss it off against lesser opponents. So not saying that Fulham is a lesser opponent, but this is one you almost expected Bournemouth to look past. And they didn't. They at least figured out a way to grind out a point, which is good for them.
Bournemouth should just assume that they're down 1-0 every match, and then maybe they'll just win every match because they seem to always come back.
Oh, they definitely do that. Tottenham and Wolves. Wang finally back in the lineup for Wolves, which was kind of surprising because he really wasn't getting playing time with O'Neill and obviously, God, why am I forgetting his name? Pereira, right? Yeah. Victor Pereira, the new head coach. Yes,
I forget. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah, it's he started to insert him back into the lineup, and of course, a very quick, easy set piece goal from outside the box from Wang. Which, frankly, it's like, what are you doing, Spurs? Like, you can't leave a guy that wide open for a goal. This for me really comes down to the fact that Son missed a penalty and the children wept. And that, I think, really kind of encapsulates what Spurs season has been. It's like when they need it, they figure out a way not to get it.
Well, you talk about how good Salah's been this year, and Hiram talked about how Salah was kind of down the last 2 years, but still, was scoring 15 plus goals a year. Mm-hmm. Son, on the other hand, he misses his friend Kane. He wasn't, or he doesn't fit in on his system because the last 2 seasons he hasn't been the son of old.
Well, also
children wept.
He's been playing more of like a striker role this season and last season too, compared to like previous years when he was more on the wing. Correct?
Yeah. A lot of last season was at the striker role. He's moved back out to the wing because they have Solanke now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it still has not been good. Not good at all. And for Wolves, do we feel like this was the change they needed? Just a little more security back on defense? Because so far in 3 matches, they've only given up 2 goals since the exiting of Gary O'Neill. Feels like I always felt like this team was too good to go down already, and it just seems like they're finally playing to their ability.
Yeah, it might just be the new voice in the room. Yeah, I never thought that I'll say it again. I always thought the 3 teams that came up were going down. So I just always thought Wolves would be close enough to dig themselves out of whatever hole they put themselves in.
Well, like I said, I had them down there, but I didn't think they were down there. Like, because for a while, for a lot of the season, they were dead fucking last so far. And we're at the halfway point. So it's fair enough to say, like, what your past behavior is more of a, indicative of what your overall score would be for the middle of the season. So it's like, great, we're at the halfway point. We've come on to some really good run of form and we've gotten ourselves out of the relegation zone. But before that, we were dog shit. You hope that means something in the second half.
They also had kind of a murderer's row to start the season, and maybe confidence dipped, and they got some more winnable games, and they've picked up points. Yeah, but they can keep going.
But in those more winnable games, they drew Southampton. They got their asses kicked by Everton, a team that doesn't score goals, put 4 on them.
Yeah, that was a an awakening. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're going to be safe, and I very much agree with you, Geck. I think the 3 that came up are the 3 that are going down. I thought originally one of them would stay up. I don't think that at all now. Moving on to that is City win. Holland finally scores, but it really didn't feel convincing, did it?
Mm-mm.
No. No.
Like, this should have been 5 or 6-0 because Leicester's defense is dog shit. Like, how do you not put the stones to them? It was, and I mean, shit. Leicester put one off the post. Ortega had to make a few saves. Like, there were chances.
Vardy was offside by this much, and it would have been a red card and at least would have been a penalty, I guess, since he was going for the ball.
Oh,
it
would have
a red
definitely
card.
been a pen. Yeah, it would have definitely been a pen. There's no doubt about it. It just was not a convincing win. And the one thing I think City needs right now is that just kind of, fuck you, we're Manchester City kind of game, right? And it doesn't even have to be 5-0. It could just be 3-0 and just be convincing. Like, the ball was in the other team's end the entire match. Haaland scored a hat trick. Like, they scored a set piece goal, and they like scored a goal from outside, scored on a fast break. Just all the things happened. Yes. None of the things really happened other than they scored 2 goals and they won.
And they
against a really bad
kept a
team.
Clean sheet.
Yeah, against a really bad team.
It's just funny to me how karma works.
Oh yeah,
that's all I got to say.
yeah. Well, humility. That's a thing. That is for damn sure.
That one reminds me of the meme when it's like the guy, with the champagne, and it's like all the people below him on the top ahead of him,
and he's just yeah. It was Haaland had a big old smile on his face. My face would have just been like, shit, I finally scored. Another early goal for Villa. Mel, this is becoming a broken fucking record for your team. Constantly, you guys love to give up an early fucking goal.
I don't know what it is. We're just that easy, apparently, because we need to keep our legs shut a lot better. This match was frustrating on many levels. We should have scored so many more times than we actually did. I don't know why we can get it down there. We tease it around, and then it just fucks off. And it's frustrating. We should have had all 3 points.
So many euphemisms in what she just said.
What? I'm talking about the game. You guys can say cover himself in glory, and nobody says shit.
She got you there.
Here's really the biggest talking point from this. First, I'm going to say for Brighton, Brighton aren't winning, but Brighton aren't losing. Right. And now what Brighton needs, though, is Brighton's going to want to be in Europe. These results aren't a team that's going to get into Europe, it feels like.
Brighton's might be the most confusing team in the league. Because you look at their results and how they play terrible and they win. They play amazing and they lose. And it's like they feel like they're 10th. They're just like in the middle.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're good.
Exactly where they are
sometimes
right now
they're bad.
in the table.
Yeah.
But also for that team, for development, you need to be kind of constantly in the European discussion, because at some point what's going to happen to Brighton is what happened to Southampton. Everybody's just going to pluck all their players, and then there's going to be nobody fucking left.
Yeah, Brighton have been, if you look at bringing players in, they've been probably one of the best.
Oh, at recruiting, they're insanely good.
Every transfer they seem to get seems to work.
Yeah.
But eventually that's not going to happen. Eventually you're not going to bring in the right players.
Right.
But
financially, they can't be misses. They all have to be hits. If one of them's a miss, that can, if it's a central midfielder you bring in and they're a miss, that completely fucks your team.
Yeah. I think at least from PSR, they're fine because they always sell for a profit and buy for less.
They're probably the most profitable team as far as PSR buying and selling players is concerned. Not the actual merchandise side of things, but the actual doing football business. They're probably the best in the league in doing it.
I think they have a lot of good players, and I don't know if they know what their best 11 is either. Mm-hmm. So if they can keep the team and the manager together at least for another season, you can just build on what you have, as long as it doesn't go completely off the rails. So even if they don't make Europe this year, and they keep it mostly together, and maybe get another player or two in, then you can push to the next level.
So for Villa, here's the big talking point. It's a draw. You're still in the discussion. You're 3 points away from being in 5th place, right? So it's so fucking tight at the top right now. There's a lot of opportunity. Here's the big one. Ollie Watkins scores a goal, and he's at home, and he looks right at the crowd, starts pointing, "It's me. I'm the striker. I'm the man." showing a little bit of chestiness that, frankly, is not.
It was ugly. Don't like it.
Oh, I would. Here's the thing.
We're a team of brotherly love. We're a team of man love.
The desk for NBC, both Robbie and Tim, they liked it. They were like, our only complaint about Ollie Watkins is he's too nice of a guy, and that maybe him having a fucking fire lit under his ass with Duran might be a good thing. It might get him to have a little bit more of a spark. Do you think this can affect the team, Mel?
Oh, definitely it's going to affect the team. Which competition is good. And I'm hoping it spurts competition because John Duran is the future. He is amazing. Morgan Rogers is nothing to sneeze at either. We have got quite a deep lineup of people who can score. Then why aren't we scoring more? Ollie, why aren't the fuck you scoring more? That game should have been at least 4 or 5 goals. We should have wiped the floor with them. We played mostly for their fucking goal. We're going to be the man, score like a man.
Huh?
Damn.
I thought you were about to go all Ric Flair. Woo! You want to ride Space Mountain? Luger? You gotta walk that aisle.
I'm just saying. The goals aren't there. There's a reason why Watkins, and I have a Watkins jersey. I'm a Watkins stan. There's a reason why Duran's taking the spot. And Watkins needs to score more and get himself in there more. And he has nobody to blame but himself. And grandstanding to the crowd isn't what gets you to be amazing.
Hiram, do you think that this is a distraction, good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
I think if anything, it motivates both Duran and Ollie. We talked about this
I don't
prior
like
to
the division in the locker room.
Well, it's not even going to be division more so. I think it's more so going to be like that friendly competition. Be like, okay, you want to prove you're a striker, so let me. I'll play. Not really necessarily. I'll play you, but I'll play out my own element, so I can, of course, be better not only for just myself, but also the team as well. So obviously, they're going to try to print in that same input or output to help the team benefit and eventually maybe get into Europe, but. It's also going to be like, okay, now Unai has to decide, like, am I going to go with Duran? Am I going to go with Ollie? But it's still, me personally, I think Ollie still has like that slight edge over Duran, mainly because he has a Premier League experience. He is pretty much like the backup number 9 for England as well right now, too. And Duran is pretty much just getting started. If Duran can pretty much keep going from this pace, he's definitely going to edge over Ollie Watkins. But I don't think this is going to be necessarily an issue. If it turns into a part where, of course, they both play on the pitch at the same time, and then there's like obviously that division, then that can happen.
Emery's hinted at that.
I don't know if there's drama behind the scenes, but that's one of the things about Villa that's kept us together, and I think that might be what our fault is right now, is they're not playing as well together, because I do suspect there might be some division.
Well, to do a comparison.
Meanwhile, you've got a Bailey and who was it with matching braids?
Defender.
Diego Carlos?
Diego Carlos, yeah.
With their matching hair.
Here's,
literally. They have coordinating braids.
Here's a comparison for you guys. In, the NFL and American football, typically the first string and the backup are kind of like buddy-buddy, right? Like they get along, they work well together because the backup knows the only way he's getting in is if number 1 gets hurt. In football and in soccer, the attitude is the number 2 wants the number 1's job, and they don't like each other. They may be friendly, but they ultimately they both want to be the one at the top of the fucking pitch scoring the goals.
Guys, you want to be at the top? Score more.
Huh?
Score more. We're not scoring nearly enough.
I mean, I think Emery should find a way to get them both on the pitch, because
he's hinted at that. He's hinted that he wants to figure out a way to get them both on the pitch.
Because it seems like Duran's the better finisher, and Watkins has a better all-around game. Now, I haven't watched Villa as much as Mel.
Watkins lately has been like with it there. He's been at the last second just pumping it into the crowds.
So this was our, with Bamford, it was like, oh, he does all the little things, blah, 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 which is kind of what Watkins does.
Right.
And then sometimes, you take somebody like Watkins off the pitch and you go, oh, we don't look as good.
Yeah.
But Duran gets that one chance and puts it away, and maybe Ollie doesn't.
Yeah.
So there's got to be, Leeds is actually having this problem now. We could talk about Leeds later. But, I think there's got to be a way to get Duran. If Duran's firing and Watkins has been your best player for the last 2 years, you got to find a way to get them both on the pitch.
I think it's going to be harder, especially if you're going to play with that attacking mid, more so of Morgan Rogers as well too, because he's been doing pretty well for himself as well. But I don't think it'll be a spot for him to be on the pitch if they're going to play both Duran and Watkins.
Moving on to the final match of the fixture week was Brentford and Arsenal. Brentford take an early lead. Shocker. That's what fucking Brentford do. Brentford do lose only their second match at home this season. Now, not surprising because Arsenal have seemingly come out of the injury bug, come out on the other side. Saka's a miss, but it's not the worst miss. But they've got play, right? It wasn't like missing Odegaard, right? Odegaard, you could tell there was a definite shift in how they were able to play, and there were results that happened because they didn't have him on the field. And you guys aren't even going to get to talk because we talk about Arsenal enough. And I just want to say, we always talk about the pro-Arsenal agenda. The most pro-Arsenal agenda I've ever seen is David Raya making an amazing save off the line off a ball he should have caught in the first fucking place.
Sure money.
No, it is the most Arsenal thing. It's actually the most Sam Graham thing ever. And speaking of Sam Graham, guess what? He fucking lost again. It's what he does. It's what he fucking does. He is
Not good gambling.
he just loses constantly. He missed a couple of legs of his bet, and he doesn't learn because he's now down $1,800.
He's bad at gambling and he's bad at pulling out.
You know,
9-way parlay.
actually a 6-way parlay. But this is what he has this time: Arsenal to win and over 2.5. Oh, I'm sorry, Arsenal to win over 2.5 goals in the game. Newcastle over Tottenham, Chelsea over Palace, City over West Ham, and Villa over Leicester for plus 1825. Not impossible. That's actually fairly, but they'll fuck it off. They'll fuck it off. It's what they're going to do. They're going to definitely fuck it off.
I've got a better 9-way parlay.
Okay, what you got?
All 7 matches on Saturday, both teams to score, plus 24.47. So $100 returns $2,447.
Nice! I love it.
The only problem is Everton have to score.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a tough ask. But it's Bournemouth, and we do typically score on Bournemouth. We just don't hold leads against Bournemouth, and we don't do well at the Vitality. The only saving grace will be is that the Cherries like to fuck it off against bad teams, and we're bad teams, so maybe they'll fuck it off against us. Well, the key thing for me is I missed, and I'm sorry, no. Yeah, I missed, and I am now down $135.
Big Sam's Lock of the Week.
Sorry about that. I'm up $135. I said I'm down.
Big Sam, lock of the week.
Hey, boys, I love it when this happens. Did you know that 22.2% of the time it works 100% of the time, baby? All right, I am going to do a 2-leg road dog parlay. I'm going to take Brentford to win at Southampton and Forest to win at Wolves at plus 475.
Oh, you didn't know?
Your ass somebody!
The worst wrestler in DX.
Beck.
He didn't have to be a good wrestler. All he had to do was say, oh, you didn't know? And we all went wild.
That was it. That's all he had to do. That was back in the days when Gen X, we played Beirut, not fucking beer pong. We used to have...
Beirut was more topical back then.
It was also full physical violence, too. You were diving over the table. Mike Rice had to make a rule that you weren't allowed to go over the halfway point on the ping pong table because every weekend he was replacing drywall in his basement because people would go through the wall.
Nice.
But that would be the entrance music of me and Mr. Brian Carper because we were the champs of Beirut for literally a year straight. We would play like 5-6 games in a row, take on everybody, beat the shit out of them. we would walk down the stairs to that song, holding out the belts across their bellies and everything. It was
God,
wonderful.
I wish cell phones existed back then. We have video
I wish I
of
would have been
it.
alive back then.
Mel, that's also part of the time where Houston had hair as well.
Debating, do I want to waste our Patreon money on some belts for you and Graham when he returns to the show? Lars, reach out.
I love it.
The problem is if I come over again, I'm stealing one.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up, boys and girls. First to you, Hiram. Any parting words?
Yeah, definitely check us out with the Annapolis Blues, Naptown Blues Fancast.
You almost forgot the fucking show.
You know
Well
what?
done.
It's been what, 6 months?
It really does be like that.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, thank you for that. That show will actually be returning back on January 15th. So
Great title for a show. I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
So, and in case you guys weren't aware of what the show is called, it is called It Really Be Like That. So definitely check me out, because it'll just be me and maybe a couple guests occasionally here and there. Maybe Sam, Mel, maybe even Geck one time. Who knows?
What? Middle-aged white woman on the show.
I mean, the voice of a younger generation.
I mean, I gotta get everyone in there.
I gotta keep him up with the young, fresh. What's happening?
Oh Lord. But yeah, January 15th is when the show will be back on the air. It'll be a new format with just me as a single host, and then I'll have occasional guests here and there as well too. But along with that, of course, with Naptown Blues Fancast, and then also stay tuned to more blues content as well for the fans as well.
Excellent. Very good. Geck, any parting words?
I'm just going to say, if you're a Leeds fan, luamericas.com. We've got a whole bunch of cities. You can click on wherever you are. You get the socials, get the meetup. And if you're a fan of other teams, search out your local teams and go to a watch. It's the best.
Excellent. All right. Next up is DU Does EFL, where we're going to talk about all the rest of professional football. It's also where we're going to finally talk about Leeds, because, well, that's where fucking Leeds is.
Oh my God, David, you're on the second show.
We are going to finish the stream tonight, so this is going to be the final stream of the evening. We're not going to stream the EFL show, but we also have after that Injury Time, which is a preview of the weekend's action. We talk about our fantasy teams, which has not been going so well for me. I've been dropping like a stone. And our adopted club, Ibs, which has been going right up the fucking table, which is good. Should somebody want to find our extra content, since you did it so well the last time, Geck, how does one go about do it?
Well, you go to patreon.com/DU Football Show, or just type in DU Football Show Patreon in your internet search bar of choice, and it'll pop right up.
Very good. And that comes from, boys and girls, a proud Patreon member right there. Till next Monday, everybody.
Peace.
Good night.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston. Sam Houston? Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smell the Malort. Look straight in shorts. Sam Graham, hey. Sam Graham. Fucking United! Fucking United! Hit the fucking mute button!
I just knew she was gonna do it.